Hey all, welcome to ShareTrek. This is Raj here. Friends, today I want to do something that I have been thinking for a while but putting off because it involves a lot of work. Finally, I have managed to get across for this video. I want to compare CRISPR Therapeutics and Bluebird for their SCD therapy and figure out which one is better. Here I'm talking about Exa-cel and Lovo-cel for sickle cell disease. Of course, I am not a scientist. I may probably not understand the nuances. However, I'm comparing them both from a business aspect as well as a medical aspect. Let's get started. Welcome back, friends. A very brief definition of Exa-cel would be that Exa-cel is an autologous ex vivo CRISPR-Cas9 therapy that edits patients' blood stem cells to produce high levels of fetal hemoglobin in red blood cells. So the first thing to note in this definition is that it is autologous. This means the following. Point number one, patient handling infrastructure is needed to collect cells and carefully store and transport it to the lab. This means having a collection center, trained collection staff, scheduling infrastructure, transportation systems to safely reach the collected cells to the lab. And all of this also involves lead time. There will be a lead time to schedule patients for cell collection, and then there will be a lead time between seeking and scheduling an appointment. Then there will be a lead time from cell collection up to the infusion of the therapy into the patient. So every time a patient is to be dosed, the whole process will have to be repeated with individual quality control, and there can be variance in the outcomes of each production batch or each production effort. There is a risk of damage or loss of cells or processed therapy during transportation. The next information is that this therapy produces high levels of fetal hemoglobin in red blood cells. This means that additional fetal hemoglobin is produced to carry oxygen, thereby resolving potential episodes. It does not do anything to the sickled cell itself. Exa-cel uses the precise DNA cutting ability of CRISPR-Cas9 nuclease to silence BCL11A, which is a repressor of the HbF gene in hematopoietic stem cells and progenitor cells collected from the patients, from the marrow, and edited ex vivo or outside the body. And patients then require bone marrow ablation therapy to remove any defective blood cells, and then the edited HSPCs are reinfused. This is done using busulfan, which is harsh on the body. Busulfan is the conditioning regimen, and it's a bit harsh on the body. So those are the things that I would like to mention based on the brief definition. So now if we were to look at a brief definition of Lovo-cel for sickle cell disease, it reads like Lovo-cel gene therapy is administered by autologous hematopoietic stem cell and progenitor cells transplantation. The autologous HSPCs are transduced with BB305 lentiviral vector encoding the modified beta globin gene, that is BA-T87Q, which results in the production of anti-sickling hemoglobin or HbA-T87Q. So both Exa-cel and Lovo-cel have the same approach when it comes to preparing and dosing the patient. All the issues mentioned with Exa-cel apply to Lovo-cel, including conditioning. The only difference is that Lovo-cel corrects the single point mutation that causes sickling hemoglobin and enables anti-sickling hemoglobin. Whereas in case of Exa-cel, it creates fetal hemoglobin so that there is sufficient hemoglobin that can carry oxygen and therefore try to eliminate the VOCs or the episodes that SCD patients face. So in CLIMB trials for Exa-cel, 16 out of 17 patients, which is 94.1%, achieved the primary endpoint of freedom from vasculo-occlusive crisis or VOCs for at least 12 consecutive months. Increases in fetal hemoglobin and total hemoglobin occurred early within the first few months and were maintained over time. In the analysis of all patients who received Exa-cel, mean fetal hemoglobin was more than 30% of total hemoglobin by month 3 and was then maintained at approximately 40% throughout follow-up with pancellular distribution. Complete resolution of severe VOCs was achieved in 28 out of 29 total patients in case of Lovo-cel infusion during 2-year patient study. So the duration of patient study for Lovo-cel is longer, and the total patient size is also longer. We have 28 out of 29 total patients who had absolutely positive results, and which was compared to 3.5 annual events in the 2 years prior to the study. So they looked at these patients, they had severe VOCs, they had 3.5 annual events in the last 2 years before they commenced the treatment. And after commencing the treatment, 28 out of 29 had no VOCs at all. For 2 years. That is the period up to which the observation was done. ICR has proposed cost of 1.35 million to 2.05 million for both therapies. ICR found that both Exacel and Lovocel are likely to improve quality of life and length of life using a $2 million placeholder price for both therapies. The organization raised Lovocel as incremental or better compared with standard of care, and Exa-cel as comparable or better compared with standard of care. So overall, it seems that Lovocel has a slighter edge over Exa-cel. But then if you look at the financial position of these two companies, Bluebird Bio is likely to need equity dilution. It needs some kind of money, and as I have mentioned before, the management itself has put in the risk factors, the ability of being a going concern if funds were not raised in a with favorable terms. I have no doubt that they will definitely get funding, but the risk factor does remain on them. Whereas CRISPR and Vertex combo, which are behind Exa-cel, have got strong balance sheets. Vertex has got tremendous experience monetizing therapies compared to Bluebird, so the combined clout of CRISPR and Vertex will help them to move more aggressively in the market on monetization and capture a larger market share as fast as possible. So, my friends, I think that while CRISPR and Vertex may probably have Exa-cel, which is a notch below Lovo-cel in my opinion, but they more than compensate for it with their financial strength as well as previous expertise in monetizing therapies. Whereas Bluebird does have previous expertise in monetizing gene therapies because they have done Zynteglo and they have done SkySona. So they are quickly learning a lot, but the one place where I think they have a bit of a challenge is their balance sheet. They don't have sufficient cash balance, and therefore equity dilution is an issue. And also the warning from Bluebird's own management that there is a risk of them being a going concern if they do not get funding at favorable terms is something that we have to take seriously. But in my personal opinion, with all these kind of products, Bluebird Bio will definitely be able to raise funds and bring Lovo-cel to market. And I think that in the marketplace also there will be a slight preference to Lovo-cel as opposed to Exa-cel if a patient was to be discerning. So with that said, I'd like to bring this video to an end. Friends, please let me know what you think about Bluebird and CRISPR's competition with Lovo-cel and Exa-cel. Which one do you think is better? And you can put that all in the comment. I would like to read your comments as always. With that, my friends, I would like to bring this video to an end. I'll catch up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.